to come in. Okay. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure having you here. How are you doing today?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
We,
And,
we are very
as I support your product and your services, I think it's important for us to, work together.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So, for people that are joining online, just a little background about Michelle. Michelle is the founder of Dementia Prevention UK, and Michelle has a background in social works. She has led programs for people with dementia. She specializes in interacting with people with dementia. She has led programs related to healthcare services for patients and also their relatives. So, it's a really, really great pleasure having somebody like Michelle on our first ever live Instagram session. Thank you once again, Michelle, for joining us today. So over to you. Please take the floor. Thank you.
So thank you. And, happy to be your guinea pig for many more to come. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so what I thought that maybe we will start with is just explain what dementia is. Um, and then we will go into the diagnosis and what are the things that we can do in order to reduce our risk. So kind of, quickly, just let me know how much time I have. So we'll start with what dementia is. So dementia is a neurodegenerative disease, which means that connections in the brain unfortunately don't work as well as they used to in the past. And they are slowly dying. Um, the different types of dementia, it depends on where the disease hits a person in the brain. So if it hits them in the front of the brain, the back of the brain, in the center of memory. So these are the different types of dementia that we have. Dementia is not a disease that happens overnight. It is a disease that happens slowly, and to be honest, from the day that we are born, the brain accumulates different challenges and faces different challenges, and we all process those challenges in a different way. So the challenges can be around mental health, and the challenges can be around physical health. We know that depression and anxiety, for example, are a risk factor. And we know that, for example, diabetes or a cardiovascular disease are also risk factors that might increase the risk of a person developing dementia later on in life. That is why when we're looking at the prevention of the disease, it's really important to remember that this is not something that happens overnight. It's not like breaking a leg or an arm, that you had your arm was completely healthy and then all of a sudden it's not. What happens with dementia is that at some point the brain feels that they can't keep on the balance and something breaks. And when that balance breaks, then we start showing the symptoms of the disease. So the disease can actually progress between 30 to 40 years before a person shows any symptoms. So for people who are listening and they are in their 40s, do kind of the math really quickly, and you will see that today is really important day. And if you're not engaging in healthy lifestyle, then maybe today is the day that you should start. Um, so that is in general what is dementia. How do we know that a person has dementia, or how do we know it for ourselves? So usually when a person asks, oh, do I have dementia? Usually they don't. It's usually the environment that points out to the person that there are a few changes in their behavior, and therefore they are worried and they would like to take that person to see the GP. If you're worried about your own memory, if you're worried about different changes in your cognitive ability, so your ability to recall information, your ability to hold information, then I would suggest for you to just have this very simple test for a few days. Give it a week, let's say. And in that week, you can write for yourself five different sequence of numbers or five different words, or even better, if you have a family member that will choose those five sequence of numbers or five words for you. Look at those five words and try to memorize them. Then come back to that list of five words in the evening and see how many of those five words you can actually remember. Or come back to the list of numbers and see how many of those numbers you can actually remember. And this is something that can give you a clue to your cognitive ability. Can you learn something new? And can you recall new information that you just learned? If you can see that you are not very successful in this task, then I would suggest for you to go to the GP and say, listen, I tried this small test at home, and this is the evidence, and I believe that we need to further investigate my cognitive ability because I'm worried about dementia. So this is something that you can do and you can implement from today because it's relatively still early in the morning. So how does dementia look like? Usually it is a change in behavior. Many people, when I ask this question, they say, oh, it's around brain fog, it's about memory, it's about forgetfulness. But actually it's about changed behavior. A person is now behaving in a different way. So I'll give you examples. Um, a person used to like going out and meeting people, and now all of a sudden that person doesn't like going out and meeting people as much. A person used to like reading, and now they don't read that much anymore. A person used to like specific type of food, and now all of a sudden they're changing and they want to try something new. A person used to be slow to get angry, and now all of a sudden the person is most of the time very frustrated or behaves in an aggressive way. A person was able to use money sensibly, and all of a sudden they spend quite a lot of money for no reason. So these are little clues that can help you. Other clues can be around their spatial awareness. So until that point, they were actually excellent drivers, and all of a sudden their car has these little bumps on the side. It means that they can't really understand the distance. Some people, their ability to manage time changes. So again, all those little clues, you can kind of look for them and see if a person is changing their behavior. And if a person is changing their behavior, then it might be that they are developing dementia. Now, with the dementia, we ask the question, which D is that? Is it dementia? Is it vitamin D deficiency? Or maybe it's depression? Because we know that with vitamin D deficiency and with depression, a person will exhibit the same symptoms as if they are, living with dementia. But actually, it might be vitamin D deficiency, and it might be that that person experienced depression. And that leads me to the next subject, which is at what point should we go and get a diagnosis? Some people, because we know that there is no cure to dementia, they say, oh, like, what's the point for me going to the GP and receive a diagnosis? Because the diagnosis won't change anything. Well, that's not 100% true, because what if it's not dementia? What if it is vitamin D deficiency? What if you're struggling with some challenges that you experience in life, and you might receive help that will make life look a little bit easier and more manageable? So why not go to the GP and see which D is it? even if the diagnosis points out to the fact that the person does have dementia, there are many things that a person can do in order to reduce their risks to and push the symptoms a little bit further. So, for example, we can, well, I'll share with you our 5 brain health pillars, and maybe that will be more helpful. So the first brain health pillar that we talked about is physical health. So if you're with a GP, it's really important for you to do just kind of a full battery of blood tests and urine tests, and just to see how the body is functioning in general, and if there are any deficiencies in any area, or maybe one of your organs is not behaving the way that you hope that that organ will behave. So physical health, making sure that your body is relatively healthy. Then we're looking at your relationship with your GP. How do you view that relationship? And I know that this is a little bit of a problematic issue, but the more you share with your GP, the more honest that you are with your GP. For example, for the amount of alcohol that you drink, if you're smoking, if you are engaged in physical activity, then how many times a week? So provide with that information to your GP would really help the GP provide you with solutions that, to the issues that you are experiencing. Another thing that we talk about around physical health is, well, you can't escape it. You need to move. We need to move. Movement is really important. Physical activity is really important. And at this point, people are asking me, so what is the bare minimum? The bare minimum is 3 days a week of 30 minutes of activity that you actually sweat. So it's not that nice little walk that you have in the evening while you're chatting with a friend. It's supposed to be an activity that you can't chat with a friend, that you are really sweating. That is the type of physical activity that we would recommend. So now the weather is nice, you can definitely go outside. When the weather is not nice, there are so many different gyms that are open, and for different groups. There are different discounts, and I would highly recommend for you to go and check them out. In the gym, there are some classes that you can take, which leads us to another brain health pillar, which is staying social. So when you join a gym, when you join an activity, you might meet new people, which will reduce your isolation. We know that communicating with other people is really important. It stimulates the brain. It helps keep us motivated and relatively happy. So meeting people is really important. And then we're going to the third brain health pillar, which is mental health. As you can understand, with mental health, we know that the brain is affected if we are experiencing long periods of depression or anxiety. And it's really important to manage those situations to the best of your ability. There are many courses, and you can approach your GP, and there are many charities that are helping people manage their mental health in a better way. And if you really do need help, please reach out, because we know that mental health is very, very, very important. In our sessions, when we talk about mental health, we teach how to do meditation. We talk about self-affirmations. For example, I am smart, I am strong, I am capable, I am worthy, I am enough. So I would strongly suggest for each and every one of you to adopt a few self-affirmation quotes that suits you. Obviously, they can change from day to day, or from week to week, or from situation to situation, but it is important to remind ourselves that we are good. Another thing that we talk about around mental health is self-positive talk. Quite a lot of people say, oh, I'm so silly, I've done this. Oh, like I'm a failure. I will never be able to succeed. And you know what? The brain listens. And it's really important for you to, when you to talk to yourself in a positive way. So the brain will follow and the brain will be convinced that you're convinced in your abilities. So that's around mental health. Another thing around mental health, what people forget is sleep. It's important to sleep for 8 hours throughout the night. And again, if you are not capable of sleeping for that duration, please, please, please go and speak with your GP. You can fill in a sleep diary. There are so many of them over, just Google them and you'll find sleep diary. The idea of filling in a sleep diary is for you to be able to understand where challenges are around sleeping the full duration of 8 hours. So it can be that you're too worried before you go to sleep. It might be that you are not going to sleep and waking up at the same time. It might be that you're eating too much before you go to sleep, or you're drinking too much before you're going to sleep. So that sleep table that you will fill in, the sleep diary, can really help you find what are the challenges, and you can change your behavior, and hopefully you'll gain better sleep. We know that when we don't sleep well, we can't function well, we don't feel well, both mentally and physically. So sleep is very, very important. And I'm sure that I'm not sharing anything that you didn't know of before, but all these things really do accumulate. And that is what I shared at the beginning, that dementia is not something that happens overnight. It is something that slowly, slowly accumulates. So if we're not taking care of our body, if we're not sleeping well, if we're not meeting friends, all these things unfortunately add up. Two more things that we talk about when we talk about our brain health pillars. So we had our physical health, we had our mental health, we had our keeping social, and the next one is nutrition. And I am not, in favor of saying, oh, you need to take that supplement that costs 100 pounds, or you need to eat that flour that goes on the Himalaya. You just need to see what you're eating. Just review your menu, review your portions. Are you eating more than you actually need to eat? And do you really need to eat everything that you're eating? And how much of the food that you have on your plate is food that you need, that your body needs, and how much is, you're craving? And it is okay to have some of the craving on your plate, which can be mash, can be rice, can be pasta, can be pizza. But it is also important for you to have on your plate things that can help your body. So if we're looking at avocado or nuts or fish or chicken breast, so things that can help your body stay strong for as long as you'd like. So that's a little bit about nutrition. And then the last one, which we forget, is brain stimulation. We tend to do more of the same. We tend to listen to the same music that we always loved. We tend to, if we read books, we read certain genre. We do things that we feel comfortable doing. And it's really important for you to not do that, to not do more of the same, to try and challenge your brain. So if you are a person that numbers is, your strong suit, then that's great. But maybe now you need to change to something that has some words in it. So start reading. You can read books, you can read poetry, you can engage in a book club, anything that has to do with words. And if you are a person that likes words more, then maybe you can try different games. There are so many games online, and you can apps for the phone that involve how could I say it? Not that challenging mathematical equations or mathematical questions, and you can start and you can give it a go, and you will see that your brain is so much sharper once you're challenging it. Other ways that you can challenge your brain is through exercise, so compound movements. So, for example, if you need to move your legs and your hands at the same time in different direction, that is great. Other things that you can do is, for example, name countries or occupations or names of plants, whatever, or names of people that you know, according to the alphabet, but at the same time, move. So you can decide going to go up and down the stairs. You can decide to play with a ball. You can decide to go for a run, but do two activities at the same time. So that can also help you and stimulate your brain. Reading is a great way to stimulate your brain. I can't emphasize that enough. And if you don't like reading, then just commit to one paragraph a day. Ask a friend to recommend a book that they believe that you would like. And before you go to sleep, instead of scrolling on social media, scroll on the book. Read a book. Just one paragraph will be extremely, extremely beneficial for you. So these are the ways that you can protect your brain, and these are the ways that you can lower the risk of developing dementia. But also, if you receive the diagnosis, these things can help you delay a little bit the progression of the disease. There are many activities online, and I would highly recommend for you to engage in activities in real life. Meet people, get out of the house, ask for help, do the research for yourself in order to help yourself feel so much better. When we're talking about dementia, it's really important to remember that 2/3 of people living with dementia are actually women. And unfortunately, at this point, and it has been for a very long time, the number one cause of death for women in the UK is dementia. And unfortunately, quite a lot of women are not aware of that. Another fact is that, unfortunately, people from the Black community will suffer more from dementia from people from the white community. And I hope that helps you understand that it is really important that if you are a woman, if you are from the Black community, you should go and get tested. You should go and share any concerns that you might have with your GP in order to receive a diagnosis when there are still enough connections in the brain that will help you delay the progression of the disease. So that's really important to know. It's really important to understand also the connection between menopause and dementia. So we know that during menopause, different areas in the brain shrink, and it doesn't mean that we're less capable or that we're not as smart as we used to. It just means that things are a little bit more complicated for women who go through menopause. And that is why when we talk to women, we ask for them to start looking at HRT, hormone replacement therapy, or treatment before they even start going through menopause. We know that once estrogen levels go down, there are quite a lot of areas in the brain and in the body that are affected by it. And if we gradually start taking HRT when we're premenopausal, that can help and protect our brain and other organs in the body, which are that important, that much important, like our heart and our kidneys and our lungs, which can be affected by the reduction of estrogen in our blood. So it's really, really important, especially if you are a woman and you're listening, to go and discuss this with your GP. So it's HRT is not only if you have night sweats or if you are a little bit forgetful. HRT can really help you and maintain your brain health for as long as you hope to live and to be there. The idea with HRT is that there is a short window in which the HRT can actually provide the help that it needs. So the sooner that you go and start a discussion with your GP, the better outcomes you will have. So that's kind of in general dementia and dementia prevention that I can share with you now. Any questions that you might have, or you know that other people are concerned about specific things with dementia? If not, then I can go and talk a little bit about the carers.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that insightful that you spoke about. So I have a question before you go ahead to talk about the carers. You are the founder of Dementia Prevention UK. I'm sure there's a story behind that. So could you share a bit of the story behind being the founder of Dementia Prevention UK? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Our family was affected by Alzheimer's. My grandmother from my mother's side and my grandmother from my father's side both unfortunately had Alzheimer's. And I was, to be honest, very angry to find out long after they passed that there were many things that we could have done in order to delay the progression of their disease. And when I started asking around, who are the people that actually know and can help, so I could see that there isn't that much knowledge out there. So there is a big gap between the academia and the amount of research that is being done around dementia prevention and delaying the progression of the disease, and what we can see when we go and meet GPs or when we talk with healthcare professionals. So to be honest, I was very angry, and because I was angry and frustrated, I decided to found a charity so no one else will feel the way that I felt, that I completely missed the opportunity to make my grandmother's life much easier, and obviously, to lower the burden that my family experienced from taking care of both of them. And I really do hope that the workshops and the information that we share about dementia prevention and how to lower the risks and delay the progression can help and deliver an impact on a different family, or an individual. So that's why I'm here. Hopefully we are helping. um,
Yes,
so
you are.
thank you. Uh, so talking about carers, we know that carers are at a very high risk of developing dementia, and we know that carers are very much worried about developing dementia, and that is why when we work with carers, we work mainly on mental health and on their ability, or to develop the ability to say no and develop the ability to ask for help. We can see that quite a lot of carers suffer from anxiety and suffer from depression, and that is definitely not helpful for them or for the person that they care for. That is why I think that your service is really important, because if we can lower the burden on the brain of the things that we need to remember to do, the tasks that we have, who we're supposed to call, when we're supposed to call, at what time to take which medication, and what medication helps with what thing. It's just, there's too many things that a carer needs to deal with on top of actually caring for the person that they are living with. So I think that it is really, really important for carers to take the time for themselves, to go and ask from families for help and for respite. Unfortunately, just yesterday, I heard of a carer that unfortunately she took her life. She just couldn't carry on carrying the burden of taking care of her loved one. And this is something that we don't want to see. We want carers to be able to go out and say, I need help. And there is help out there. Yes, it is hard to find it, but there are quite a lot of charities that do help people that are caring for loved ones. And it doesn't need to be that the loved one is living with dementia. It can be any other disease. So there is help out there. Your service is really important, and in each one, we mainly work within London boroughs, but with each one of the London boroughs, there are quite a lot of charities, and there are services within the boroughs that help people that are caring for a family member. And I would highly recommend for them to reach out. And if you're not a carer, and if someone from your family is caring for someone living with dementia or with any other disease, step up. That's what I can say. It's really, really hard. Suggest, even if they say, no, I don't need help, suggest, why don't you take the afternoon and I will be here? Why don't I take the person living with dementia to a few of the hospital appointments? Why don't I go and do some grocery shopping for you? Why don't I fix 2 or 3 meals during the week for you? Any little help, honestly, can really, really help and can lower the burden on a person living with dementia. Usually, on the person that's caring for a person living with dementia, usually it is women who are taking care of a person living with dementia. And we know that quite a lot of them will postpone any kind of treatment that they need to have in order to keep on caring for the person living with dementia. And that honestly doesn't help. If we're going back to the 5 brain health pillars, physical health, well, the body that carries you and helps you take care of a person living with dementia needs to be as healthy as possible. And we know that they are the first group that will cancel and postpone appointments and will not receive diagnosis for their own illnesses on time, which makes it really hard to help them and delay the progression of symptoms of the diseases that they live with. It can be cardiovascular disease, and it can be diabetes, and it can be lots of different diseases. So I do urge people that are caring for loved ones to take care of themselves. Everyone, shares the same analogy. The airplane, they say that the first person that needs to put on the oxygen mask is the parent and then the child. And there is a reason why that happens, because the child can't be without the parent, and the person that you're caring for can't be without you. So you must put yourself as first priority. We know that it's hard. I know that it's hard. We're working with carers, and most of the workshops that we provide for carers are online because we know that the commute will take time. So we're trying to minimize the time that they're away from their caring responsibilities and provide them with that opportunity of 1 hour once a week to um, do something for themselves and learn something for themselves and engage in um, communication within a group of people that share the same experiences. And to be honest, I must say that 50% of the time is people just sharing their challenges, and then other people provide different ideas and support and help, which I think that is where the magic is. It's not the content, it's being together and supporting each other, which is really, really important. Any other thoughts or concerns or ideas that you had before
Yes,
we
yes. Yes, I actually have a few questions. So you said something about having a diagnosis. Recently, it's taken NHS a long time to diagnose people. So what do you have to say about that? How many weeks, how many days, how many months do you think a diagnosis result is meant to be out?
So we know with the new medication that is out there, we understand that there is a small window of opportunity in order for the new medication to work from the moment that the person shows any symptoms of the disease and for the medication to actually help in delaying some of the symptoms. And we're talking about Alzheimer's. In general dementia, the earlier that you can receive a diagnosis, that's the best. And that is why I'm going back to your relationship with your GP. If you are, on a yearly basis, you need to have blood tests. You need to see what's going on in your body. And blood tests can really help you understand, where the body is going, in if there are any shifts. There is, I know that not many people are using it, but there is the NHS app, and you can also go online and you can see the history of your blood tests and you can see if there are any changes. Unfortunately, because the system is so overworked and overwhelmed and under budgeted, we need to take care of ourselves. And this is another message that they share with people that come to our workshops. We can stay in the position and say, oh, it's not fair what's going on. But it is really important for us to take action. It is really important for us to manage our own health, to develop that health literacy, to read as much as we can, to ask as many questions. Again, I'm going back to the different charities that are working and community centers that offer quite a lot of talks and meetings around physical health. So if you do have a meeting, about high blood pressure, if you do have a meeting about diabetes, if you do have a meeting about cardiovascular disease, if there is a group that is formed that of the people that are taking a walk in the park every Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning, join. Take responsibility because unfortunately, no one else will. So if you are taking responsibility and if you are checking your blood tests and if you are, for example, it costs about 25 pounds or something like that to buy a how's it called, to test your blood pressure at home. So to buy the machine. And you test your blood pressure once a month, depends on your age. As as the age increases, you should test your blood pressure more often. So when you're younger, it can be every 3-4 months. As you get older, at least once a month, just to see what's going on with your blood pressure. So do those tests. Be vigilant. Make sure that you, for example, fill in a sleep diary, fill in a nutrition diary. Anything that you feel that is not working the way that you hope that it will work, collect evidence and bring that evidence to your GP. Make sure that you take responsibility for your health. And from my experience, and this is where I can say, I'm really proud about the work that we do, because 100% of our group participants, when they approach the GP with evidence, according to the advice that I gave you now, they receive the help that they need. They will get referrals. They will go to further tests. They will actually move forward, and they would be able to get the diagnosis much sooner than a person that sits at home and says, oh, well, I had a blood test and the GP didn't call me, so I assume that everything is okay. Don't make that assumption. Be vigilant. Go and research, go and read. And if you can't do that, then that's completely fine. Ask for help. Call the GP surgery and say, I know that I had some blood tests. I understand that you can't see anything that is different. I would still like to have an appointment with the GP, or I would still like to have an appointment with a nurse. You don't need to be rude about it. You just need to say, as I constantly say in our workshops, there is only one of me and I am important. So I would like to get the best care that I can. And if your GP surgery is not providing you with the right service, move to a different surgery, complain. Again, take action. Taking action is really, really, really important for any disease. Well, you can, think about your teeth. when you're supposed to go and see your dentist once a year. And this is in order to prevent from horrible, more expensive things to come. So it's the same thing with the rest of your body. Be vigilant and take care of yourself. You are important.
Thank you very much, Michelle. So I have two more questions
Yes.
to go. Last week, you made a post regards financial burdens on families of people with dementia. So how would you recommend what steps would you recommend, what solutions would you recommend for family to reduce the financial burdens of families of people living with dementia? And then the second one is, how would you what solutions would you recommend to increase the overall care of people living with dementia in the UK?
So I think that well, I believe that the two questions have the same answer. I think it's raising awareness. Raising awareness. Don't suffer in silence. There there are charities that are working out there that are trying to collect data, that are trying to reach out to people, to people that are caring for, people who are living with dementia or people who are living with other diseases. Um, report. Look for those charities. Try to connect with them. The more, again, it's very simple. The government will only provide a budget to the ones who are shouting the loudest. So shout louder. You must shout, you must report, you must engage in with different charities that are working really, really hard. There is dementia care, and there's dementia research UK, and there's Alzheimer UK, and there's so many charities that are one of their focuses is actually working with the carers. So let them know that you exist and be available to join their research study. So I myself am conducting a study at this point, a research study, and it's really hard to collect participants. And if it won't be that hard, then we would be able to provide that evidence to the government that people do need help. If we're sitting in silence, then no one knows that we need help. But when we raise our voices and we come as a collective, then the government, different, MPs, councillors, they understand that there is an issue there and it needs to be addressed. So please, 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 pick up the phone, send an email, say, I would like to join to whichever study that you're doing. I would like to be one of your members. I would like to participate in whatever you're doing. I would like to sign your petition. Take action. You need to take action so your voice will be heard. Because as individuals, no one will hear us. But when we become a group and a strong group, then we will be heard. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer than to work hard
Thank
again.
you. Thank you so much for that brilliant answer, Michelle. So I'll just like to highlight what makes the Betty Box app different from others. We have a memory preservation feature for the families and carers of people with memory loss, where they can store their photos, their videos on behalf of their loved ones with dementia, memory loss, or Alzheimer's. So the memory preservation feature allows them to look back at photos, videos that they've snapped probably in a long time, and then they are able to recall those memories. I think nobody has a question, because if there was one, they would have typed in the chat box. Probably, I know that is because Michelle did justice to everything that she said today. So thank you so much, Michelle. It is a pleasure having you here with us today. Thank you for joining our first ever Instagram live session. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we hope that we are going to continue to see more of you in coming sessions. It's a great privilege having you here today. Thank you. Okay, so just to add, for people that are joining live, we have a Facebook caregivers community where we share tips to carers. So you can just click the link in our bio and then yeah, straight up to the caregivers community. So thank you, Michelle, once again, and thank you everyone for joining this live session. I learned a lot, and I'm very sure our audience also learned a lot. Thank you once again, Michelle. It was great having you here with us. Thank you. Have a great week and have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you for having me. It
Thank
was
you.
amazing. Bye bye
Yes,
now.
it was. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.